You've probably heard people throw around terms like big data, analytics, or metrics, but what do these terms really mean? I've thought a lot about this, having written 3 books on analytics, but often the people using these terms aren't even sure what they mean. Today, I'll talk a bit about what we mean when we talk about business analytics and how they can help us. So analytics can be classified as descriptive, predictive, or prescriptive. Here's a brief definition of each. Descriptive analytics involve gathering, organizing, tabulating, and depicting data, and then describing the characteristics of what you're studying. It used to be that managers called this reporting. It's useful, but it doesn't really tell you anything about why the results happened or what might happen in the future. Predictive analytics go beyond merely describing the characteristics of the data. They use data from the past to predict the future. They identify associations among the different variables and then predict the likelihood of a phenomenon occurring on the basis of those relationships. For instance, they might predict a certain type of customer will respond better to a particular product advertisement. This is the kind of thing that usually makes a skeptic jump out of his seat and say, correlation does not imply causation. But you don't need to imply causation to make predictions. You're not assuming an explicit cause and effect relationship, just noticing that when X happens, Y usually also happens. Finally, there's prescriptive analytics. They suggest a course of action, just like a prescription from a doctor. This is where you are getting into cause and effect analysis. To understand causation, researchers have to manipulate one or more independent variables and effectively control other variables. If the test group performs substantially better than the control group, then you found a variable you should emphasize more broadly. For instance, a nursing manager at Cigna, the health insurance company, worked with her analytics team to identify which types of interactions with nurses made patients healthier. She found that for some conditions, long phone calls were not helpful, but for others, a phone call worked great. On the basis of that, she was able to better tell her nurses how to spend their time with customers. Now, there are lots of methods that go into each of these 3 categories of analytics, from statistics to forecasting to data mining to experimental design. But you don't need to build your own algorithm or regression analysis to get the basic gist. As a manager, it's much more important to understand what you want the data to do for you than how to manipulate it. Do you want it just to describe a problem? Do you want to predict what's likely to happen? Do you want the data to tell you what to do? Once you know that, you'll be much better positioned than the manager who constantly talks about metrics as if all metrics are the same.